All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It's consultant training on Wednesday, the 18th of November. I am your host, and we have a special guest speaker here, Mark Chandek from LG Chem. A lot of you have probably already seen some of his trainings or interacted with him in the past. We thought it prudent, since it's been a few months, to bring Mark back on to do another refresher course on the LG Chem battery. And then I have some updates that I'll give you after Mark is done. We do have a hard stop today at about 11:50 because I have another meeting right after this. So, or 12:50, I mean. So just sit tight. We're going to go ahead and get started. And if you're just joining, if anybody joins late and they miss anything, this will be uploaded to our Power Resources site later, probably tomorrow. All right, Mark, it is all yours.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Well, it's a pleasure to be back, guys. Let me get
I'm going to
my
stop sharing so you can take it over.
great. Thank you so much. Get that going. Okay. Here, let me get this all situated and we will get going. Rachel, you want to give me, if I'm going long, like a 10-minute heads up just in case we're running close to that hard stop?
Yeah, no problem. I'll probably do it right around 12:35-ish.
Perfect.
So that way I have some time to do some quick updates for them as well. Um, and again, if you're just joining, please turn off your camera. I'm trying to keep an eye on this. And if you have any questions, save them for the chat window or raise your hand and we'll do a short Q&A after Mark's presentation.
Can
All
you
right.
guys see my screen? It should say how to sell LG Resu home battery at the top.
Yes, and it shows questions as the
Oh,
slide you're on.
no, that's the wrong thing. That's the end.
I was thinking, I was like, well, it seems like the end. All right, it's all you.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna actually turn my screen off because a lot of times it will kind of get some bandwidth issues. Okay, so you can see the right screen now, correct, Rachel?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for that intro, Rachel. Like she said, my name is Mark Chandek. I'm a technical sales specialist here at LG Chem. I do a lot of different things here, but one of my favorite roles is I get to work and train with sales consultants. I come from the consultant background in the solar space. I used to actually knock on doors out here in California, so definitely know what it's like to be in your shoes whenever you're presenting, a solar and a storage proposal. Outside of sales, I've been involved with designing and installation. So I've kind of worn a lot of different hats, definitely have, I think, a holistic view of this industry. So if you ever have questions, definitely feel free to reach out. I do work with a good amount of power reps already, so I really enjoy it. So continue to do so. And there's really no such thing as a dumb question, guys. That's my job, is to make sure you understand the product and feel comfortable with it. Rachel, for chat, do you just want to take care of those? You want me to get them
Yeah.
all at the end? Okay, great.
I'll take care of them. If there's something that's really relevant while you're going, I'll pause you. Otherwise, we'll just save them for the end.
Excellent. Okay. So today we're going to cover really four topics: why home batteries, home battery basics, selling solar and storage, and then why the Resu specifically. And then we'll end it with some Q&A. Hopefully we'll have some time for that. But before I get into it, I did just want to start by announcing that we have a phenomenal certification program for sales professionals called the Resu Academy. And actually today I'm going to be going through the first 4 lessons of that with you. Normally you would need to watch these on your own, and then you have to take some quizzes. But if you take the first 4 exams and pass them, you get a certificate from us and you get access to the Resu Professional Academy. And I'm going to touch on this again at the end and kind of explain how to go about doing this. And I have a special surprise too if you enroll within this month. So we'll talk about that again at the end, but let's just jump right into the training. So first agenda is why home batteries. And this is kind of why should you as a consultant even want to sell home batteries. So just simply put, demand for storage is surging right now. But surprisingly, if we go back even 3 years, 3 out of 4 customers wanted storage then. So it's not a new phenomenon at all. What we need to be doing as an industry is we just need to embrace this and understand why homeowners want storage. You're probably really surprised to hear that the data shows that when a customer is presented with a solar and storage solution in the right way, you have about a 50% closing rate with that. So the main thing I want you all to understand, and the best takeaway I can give you, is that if you want to sell more home batteries, you just need to offer it. You need to bring it up with the homeowner. You cannot wait for them to ask you about it. So that is the number one reason why you should want to sell home batteries, simply because customers want it, but they just want to be presented to it in the right way. We'll touch on that in just a second. On top of just your customers wanting it, you should really be wanting to keep your customers happy. It's crucial in this industry. Your customers become your ambassadors. And I remember back in the day, referrals for me were always the easiest kind of deal to close. So my job was always trying to make my customers advocates for me. But what a lot of homeowners' assumptions of how a solar system should work is actually how a solar and storage system works. We'll touch on that a little bit later. Everyone here, if you've been in the industry long enough, you know what it's like when you have an unhappy customer, especially when you set expectations and then they can't be met. And in markets where we have a time of use, a utility rate structure, a customer without a battery can easily be eliminating their electric bill, or I'm sorry, can easily be eliminating their electric consumption, meaning you're covering every single kilowatt hour they're using, but they still are going to be paying an electric bill. Again, we'll touch on this a little bit later. But by offering a battery from the beginning, guys, you're avoiding a dreaded call later down the road when the homeowner loses electricity and they realize that without the battery, their solar system had to shut down. So again, keep your customers happy, set those expectations clear, and we'll touch on this a little bit more on how you can, in your sale, kind of leverage the fact that, hey, without a battery, your solar system shuts down when the grid goes out. So when it comes to selling storage, you need to be removing that need to upsell. One of the mistakes that we've been making in this industry is that we're presenting homeowners with solar proposals, and then we're like, yeah, you can add a battery too if you wanna. And when this approach is taken, we're really just seeing low adoption rates. We're looking at like a 5 to 10% adoption rate when that approach is taken. And it's kind of funny because we have all these great incentives. There's never been a better reason to be more resilient and have your own backup power. But whenever you present storage as an upsell, it just, the way the homeowner perceives that, they're really not looking to buy it. Versus what we see today, and specifically in certain markets, being in California, we're seeing more installers lead with battery proposals because the market is just perfect for it. And when it's led with a battery, meaning you lead with that most expensive option with the battery proposal, we're actually seeing some really high adoption rates. And what I really like about this approach is that it allows your standalone solar proposal to really stand out as that reduced offering, not the base offering, and then the battery's the premium. So the way you present your proposals does matter, guys, and it's really important you understand that if you're going to go walk into a sale and talk about a home battery. But just take a minute to look at how much you can increase your sales by just simply leading with a battery. So 5 to 10% or 50%. You can 5 to 10x your battery attachment rates by just simply bringing it up from the beginning. So in summary, guys, there's just two main takeaways from those slides. Offer the battery from the beginning of your sale if you're trying to sell one, and then just remove that need to upsell. You'll really see some great results. So now kind of getting into home battery basics. This is a little more technical, but I've done my best to make it as general and easy to follow as I can. It's really important you're paying attention here because you're going to understand how a solar and storage system operates when a grid is on versus when a grid is down. And they do function differently based on if the grid is up or down. So it's really important you understand that so you can convey that to the homeowner properly. So how does solar and storage systems work? Well, they actually work very similarly to standalone solar systems. We still have our panels, the sun hits those, that produces a DC current, which is going into an inverter. That inverter changes that to AC safe electricity current, which goes to the main service panel, which then keeps our home running. But when you add a battery to the mix now, your solar panels will be producing plenty of energy during the day, most likely more than that homeowner needs. And without a battery, all that excess energy just goes to the grid. But when we have a battery, First, the excess energy is being used to charge it up. And then in the evening, when the battery or when the sun goes down, the battery takes over and that powers the home until it's depleted. And then they get the rest of their energy, if they even need any, from the grid. So what it's doing is it's reducing their dependency on the grid. They're pulling fewer kilowatt hours, and thus they're saving money at the end of the year. On top of that, what happens if the grid goes down? Um, Sorry about that. What happens when the grid goes down? So as long as the sun is up, guys, and you have a home battery, if the grid goes down, that system can now stay on and can continue to produce electricity and charge the battery. It's the same exact process: DC current to inverter, AC current to home. Excess energy is being used to charge up my battery. But the key difference here now, when we're in backup mode, is that instead of being able to power every single thing in my home, the battery in most cases is going to run a few pre-selected essential appliances. Let me reiterate that. That is in most cases. You will have the occasional homeowner that wants a quote whole home solution. And while this is certainly possible with enough inverters and batteries, it's not what we at LG Chem recommend that you offer. So when the grid is down and we have a battery system, what is happening during the middle of the day? I've got no support from the grid, but I've got a great solar system and a battery or two on my property. Well, your solar system now is directly powering those selected areas of the home. It, again, same exact process as before, DC to AC to home. And then that excess energy is just charging up the battery. But now at night, we have no grid and no sunshine. So we only can run off whatever our batteries reserve have. And this is where you need to be cognizant of what kind of things are you trying to back up. If you're just backing up a few essentials, one battery will be enough. But if you're trying to back up, something like an air conditioning or a furnace fan, anything that's more of a larger appliance, you're going to probably need more inverters and more batteries. So we'll touch on that again a little bit later. Two really important parameters you need to understand when we're talking about home batteries, and that's the difference between the power and the energy needs of the homeowner. Now, you're all very familiar with energy. That's measured in kilowatt hours. That's what they're paying the utility for every single month. When you guys are collecting electric bills, you're probably looking at annual kilowatt hour consumption. You're probably way less familiar, though, with the concept of power. Power is measured in kilowatts. Your solar systems are sized in kilowatts. Kilowatts and kilowatt hours are not the same thing. You need to make sure that you understand that energy and power are two completely separate things. Now, every battery is going to have a power and an energy rating. The power rating, the kilowatts, that's going to determine how much electrical current a battery can deliver at a single time. And every single appliance requires X amount of power to run. So in other words, the power rating of the battery tells you what the battery can run. Now, energy or capacity ratings, I say or capacity because a lot of times on spec sheets, guys, you're going to see capacity and not energy, but just know they're the exact same thing. That determines how long the battery can continue to deliver that current. So it just tells us how long the battery can keep those appliances on until it's depleted. Imagine a water dispenser. It's a great way to think about how a battery works in terms of power and energy. The larger the water jug on my dispenser, obviously the more water I can hold. And then the size of my tap is going to determine how quickly that water can come out of the faucet. So if you have a large tap, large faucets, you're going to deplete that energy a lot faster. So it's really good for you to see that you don't necessarily want a giant power rating in your battery, because it generally is going to mean that you're not going to get that much backup power out of it. Battery systems will always work best when we're minimizing the use of appliances and really trying to prolong the capacity inside of there. Kind of building on that, guys, again, a battery's energy, the kilowatt hours that it's storing, is the capacity. And the greater the capacity, the more energy it can store and the longer it can run appliances. Versus a battery's power rating, that is how fast it's going to deliver the energy at a single time. And a high powered battery delivers its energy very quickly. So batteries with higher power ratings, again, they can power more robust appliances because they can deliver more energy at once. But because of that, you generally are going to see a high powered battery not last as long as something that might be more of a lower powered, high capacity battery. Again, battery backup systems work best when they're designed to ration that capacity and minimize the use of major appliances. You're probably wondering what kinds of appliances are even feasible then with a home battery. It's really best to think about your appliances now in just two categories. You've got your general and your large. In most cases, when we're discussing general appliances such as phone chargers, lights, fridge, internet routers, our laptops, our TVs, you're looking at just one inverter and then one or two batteries. It's when you start to explore more of the larger appliances that it's going to require, number one, more of a technical deep dive to understand how much power these appliances are using, and then that tells you kind of how many inverters and batteries you need. I do cover a lot of this in the Resu Academy, but they're in more advanced lessons. Today is more about the general introductory courses. So if you're looking to understand how to actually read a label on an Energy Star and really determine how many inverters and batteries you're going to need based on certain sets of appliances, you can get all that information in the advanced levels of the Resu Academy, which I will be sharing with you at the end of this presentation. But again, the main takeaway here is that you have your general and your large appliances. It's going to be easier to just get them on board with general appliances because that requires fewer inverters and fewer batteries, and thus is going to cost less money. So now let's talk about the Resu specifically and its power and energy ratings. So the Resu has a 5 kilowatt power rating. That means it can deliver enough power to run 5 kilowatts of appliances. Every single appliance has a power rating, and that's going to tell you how many kilowatts it consumes each hour. So one Resu and one Solar Edge inverter can power again up to 5 kilowatts of appliances. The inverter is very important here as well. You've probably heard me reference inverters a few times now. That's because every home battery is controlled by an inverter. And that's really important to understand because even if my battery can deliver 5 kilowatts, if my inverter cannot handle 5 kilowatts, it won't let the battery deliver that. So what can I do with one battery and one inverter? This is what we recommend you back up. Keep it simple. Again, I do not recommend you go in there and try and get your homeowners to want to power every single thing in their entire home, because when they look at the price to do that, your deal is probably going to be dead in the water. Minimize what you run on the battery. So for most general cases, for essentials only, we're looking at refrigerator, internet, lights, TV, and a bedroom. We're probably talking 2 to 3 rooms max. And with one battery, that's probably going to get them anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of duration. Now, you can add a second battery, and this does have benefits. But what you need to understand is that whenever you're putting 2 batteries behind a single inverter, all you're doing is doubling the capacity. You are not increasing the power. With 2 batteries behind a single inverter, you're still going to be limited to 5 kilowatts, but you're now going to have double the capacity. So that means 2 different things. We can either run those same appliances, but we have double the capacity so they can last twice as long, or we can add a few more general appliances. And again, because we have 2 batteries now, we've got a lot more general appliances. We're still going to get that 8 to 10 hours of duration. Think of adding 2 batteries behind a single inverter like doubling the tank of gas in your guys' car, right? If you double the gas tank in your car, you can't drive faster. Your horsepower is still the same, but you can drive farther because you have more gas in the tank. So in summary, what did we learn in this section? When the grid is down and it's daytime, the home is not running on the batteries necessarily. It's actually running off the solar system. And then in the evening, that is when the batteries take over. Because during the daytime we were running only on solar and not batteries, we're ensuring that the homeowner has as close to a full battery when the sun goes down. And that means their appliances can stay on throughout the evening until the morning comes, the sun rises, and the whole process just starts again.
Hey, Mark, can you touch on how a battery can be used to help customers that are in, say, a utility that has not very great NEM program, maybe a lower buyback, that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, that's actually covered really soon, Rachel. So we'll definitely cover that time of use cases there.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then the other big takeaway from this section is of how batteries are rated. Again, power, kilowatts. That tells you what appliances you can run. And when you're talking about kilowatts, you need to be thinking about the inverter as well. And then the energy, the kilowatt hours, that's simply just telling us how long those appliances can run. And remember that energy on a lot of times on spec sheets is referred to as capacity. So just remember that and you'll be good. Okay, selling solar and storage now. So we've covered why you should, we've covered kind of some basic high level general battery basics. Now let's actually get into selling solar and storage. How do I present this in the right way? Remember, demand for storage is growing. Customers are actively asking about it more and more every day. And with the demand in storage growing, we're seeing a paradigm shift in the way we approach sales in this industry. And what I mean by that is buyers are now interested in switching over to renewables for reasons beyond just savings alone. Historically, savings are what moves the needle, but now we have homeowners that are actively looking for a lot more than just saving on a monthly utility bill. So how should I sell solar and storage? Well, it's very similar to selling standalone solar. There's three main benefits that having a solar and storage system provides the homeowner, and you'll see that saving money is still one of them. We will touch on this later. But overall, a solar and storage system protects our home, um, saves us money, and it gives us control of our energy. That's three great arguments to do it versus just one for a standalone solar system, which is generally just those savings. So I don't think anyone in here is surprised to hear that security is the number one reason people buy home batteries. Solar plus storage is an emotional sale, and you must be sure you're highlighting the peace of mind it can bring the homeowner. So our national grid, guys, is becoming more unstable by the day. Outages are becoming more frequent. The number of people they affect is rising, and they're lasting longer. Start asking the questions. What are you going to do when things go wrong? And just wait and see what they say. Chances are they really probably haven't thought about it, so it's your job to get them to think about it. Leverage the fact that without a battery, a solar system must shut down during a grid outage. How many of you are actively bringing that up in your sale? Probably not too many. And hand up, when I was first on the doors selling solar, I hated having to bring up a battery because I didn't understand it. I thought it made my sale more complicated, and I felt like it was just way too expensive that my homeowners would never buy it. But man, did I learn that was just the complete wrong attitude to have about it. If you're only selling on savings alone, batteries will be tough to sell. And again, that's why you need to highlight the peace of mind that the homeowner gets. And again, set those expectations loud and clear. Numerous homeowners have gone solar and they've had to find out the hard way what happens when the grid goes down. So again, the best advice I can give you from LG is that you must leverage this fact and it will help you close more battery deals. Don't wait for them to ask you about the battery. Bring it up. Don't wait for them to ask the question what happens when the grid goes down. Tell them the facts. Sure, you're creating maybe a problem, but you have a great solution in your back pocket, the Resu home battery. So now let's talk about kind of the why it makes financial sense to have a battery. And this is really because what we're starting to see is more what's known as a time of use utility structure. And this is really propping up more in states where solar is popular. So a time of use rate structure is almost always going to favor the utilities, guys. And this is because now instead of them billing you based on how much total electricity you use, they're billing you based off what time of the day you used it. And utilities are smart. They're going to make the most expensive power when you need it the most. Most homeowners will consume the bulk of their power in the evening. So naturally, utilities will just jack that price right up. And while that may only be a 5-hour period of the day, some homeowners use about 40% of their energy during that window of time. So right here is a graph. Rachel, are there these red marks on your screen too, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, I can see that somebody accidentally annotated it. You have
Okay.
control of the screen, so you have to turn off the annotations.
No worries. They're not. I just noticed this now, but no worries.
Yeah. I will say one of the questions that it kind of has to do from this, but I think I know the answer. Can you switch it at night so that you draw from the grid first? Then, if you want to, switch on the battery. Basically, can you preserve the life of your battery by not using it unless necessary? Which
Yep.
is yes.
Yep. We'll touch on that when we get to the control the battery gives you as an argument to why they should want that, because you
And
won't be able to.
I'm going to give you a 15-minute check now. Okay.
15-minute check. Perfect. We're doing good then. Okay. So let me get back to this then. So again, homeowners are going to use a lot more energy in the peak hours. That's why utilities make it the most expensive period. And if you're in an area with a tiered structure and then you all of a sudden are switched to a time of use one, your electric bill in all likelihood is going to go up because you're still using the same amount of energy, but because you're using more at night and that's more expensive, it causes your bill to go up. So now your homeowners have two options when this happens to them. They can make lifestyle changes, meaning they can run fewer appliances at night and more during the day. It's kind of inconvenient. Or they'll start to look into going solar. But what they don't know by going into solar alone is that it might not really fix this problem, because when you add a solar system alone to a time of use structure, you can easily cover their entire electric consumption, but you might not eliminate their bill. Now let's look at a solar production curve. This graph before was simply just how homeowners use electricity throughout the day. Of course, this does look a little different now with COVID over the last few months, but generally speaking, most homeowners use energy in the morning, not a lot during the day, and then a lot at night. So why doesn't solar fix this though? Well, because solar only produces energy when the sun's up. You can't produce solar energy during the evening. And most of the production is happening again in the middle of the day. And if you're in an area where there's NEM credits, most likely they're being credited based on the retail value of that energy if they're lucky. And that's going to be that low off-peak rate. So I'm exporting all this extra energy into the grid, but I'm getting barely anything back for it. And then I'm drawing all of this expensive energy at night and it's costing me money. This is not offsetting this. All this is doing is saving me a tiny portion of my energy right here. And that bill is not going to look pretty when it comes time to true up. So adding a battery fixes this, because now with a battery, we're taking a lot of this energy that we normally would just export and get barely anything for, and we're using it to charge up our battery. And then we'll run on the battery in the evening and not pull the expensive grid power. And as you can see here, those gray areas now with a battery system, it's a lot less. And this is going to ensure our homeowners continue to see those savings that you sat down and proposed them 5, 6, 7 years ago. Oh, so actually something that's really great to know about having a battery, and just a great selling point too, is that you can control your battery, meaning you can tell it when you want it to run. You can't control when your solar system produces energy. That's completely out of your control and determined by the sun. But I can tell my battery, hey, hold a charge. I'd like to preserve. I don't care if I pull from the grid. Or hey, dump all my energy back into the grid and give me the NEM credit now. You have that level of control. And with solar alone, you don't. So show them the benefit of having that as well. So moving into that control, battery gives the homeowner a lot more control of their system. Solar and storage really opens the door to the homeowner. There's no more renting your power, right? With just a solar system, you still have a huge dependency on the grid. But with solar and storage, you produce and store your own power now. How many homeowners have come to you and said, yeah, I want to go solar because I'm tired of quote unquote renting my power? How many of them are aware how dependent they still are though on the grid if you don't add a battery? Have control over your carbon footprint. Again, how many homeowners are telling you, yeah, I want to go solar, I want to really reduce my greenhouse gas emissions, I want to help the environment? Fantastic. Let's think about a battery as well, because again, same argument, without that battery, I have to pull a lot of energy at night. And that energy at night is, one, more expensive, and it's actually dirtier power too, because I won't go too deep into this, but the way utilities give us power in the evening is they fire up what are known as their peaker plants. And just think of these as dirty, horrible facilities that do nothing but provide us energy, but they pollute our environment. And that's so a homeowner who's really trying to help the environment should be wanting to pull as few kilowatt hours from the grid as possible, and having that battery gives them that ability. And then lastly, just have control over your utility rate. We touched on it earlier. Rates are changing. It's no longer how much energy you use, it's really when do you use it. And your utility will change things. That's historically, they raise rates, they make them harder to understand. At the end of the day, the end user is always the one who's usually getting the worst end of that deal. But with a battery, we can now program it and tell it what to do. That's real control. So just kind of summarizing all three of those points of why solar and storage makes sense, it's because of the predictable energy costs that we're going to get and we ensure for the long term, the peace of mind we're giving them that solar alone does not provide, because again, during a grid outage, just a solar system alone will shut down. And then lastly is that control that it gives them. Take control of your power and have a say when you want to use it. Still think a standalone solar system is better?
Good question.
So last section, guys. Okay, we've touched on why you should want to sell more batteries, how home batteries kind of work, how you should present it, and then lastly, let's talk about the resu specifically. Why resu? Well, resu is actually number one globally. At the end of 2019, we had over 170,000 resu units installed on homes globally. That number today is well above 180. In fact, it's probably closer to 200,000 now. And the only other battery out on the market that has even come close to that on a global scale is the Tesla Powerwall. They just reported 100,000 sales about 5-6 months ago, but now they can't even supply the market because they're not a battery manufacturer. LG Chem is. We are not restricted by supply chain issues versus Tesla is. That's a huge advantage to using the resu for you guys, is that you don't need to worry about selling this and then not being able to deliver it for 6 months. I'm bringing this up because it's really important for you to understand the way to beat a Tesla Powerwall or really any other home battery out there is not by just comparing the product to the product. You want to also be comparing the company to the company. Lithium ion is an electrochemical. You want the company who made the battery to have a chemical background. LG Chem is the chemical side of LG. We're a very different kind of company than any other battery offering out there. And the biggest difference between us is that our cells are made by us. That's what I mean when I say that Tesla is not a battery manufacturer. Tesla does not make their own battery cells. They just announced on Battery Day that they're going to start making some cells, but we're still many years away from that happening. So Tesla buys their cells from other vendors. And believe it or not, they actually buy cells from us as well for some of their electric vehicles. So the point I'm trying to get across here is that who is the subject matter expert when it comes to lithium ion battery technology? It's LG Chem. That's why Tesla calls us when they need cells for their EVs. On top of Tesla and on top of just automotives, we supply battery cells to a whole wide range of industries. Automotives is probably one of our biggest. We have it's over 3 million EVs now on the road that are using our technology. And understand that the stationary storage market is completely driven by the automotive market. The automotive market has the strictest safety standards out there, and LG Chem is proud to say we have 0 infractions when it comes to that. Over 28 vehicle manufacturers partner with us. So in all likelihood, if your homeowners are driving an electric vehicle, the battery pack is probably coming from LG Chem. On top of that, we do a lot of grid services, but what I really like to highlight here, and even in my sales, is how many IT applications use us. How many of you guys are using an Apple product right now on this call? How many of you use their earbuds? Guess what? That's all powered by LG Chem. On top of that, HP, Lenovo, Sony, these are not fly-by-night companies. These are very established and recognizable brands. And there's a reason they come to us when they need a battery, because again, we're that subject matter expert. Okay, so I kind of showed you the company versus company reasons. Let's dive more into the actual product reasons. So why the residue? I break it down to a really simple saying. It's not what's on the outside of your home battery, meaning it doesn't matter whose label and logo is on in front of your battery. What matters is who's inside your home battery. So the residue, again, number one home battery in the world, almost 200,000 units sold. And this is not a coincidence. Why is it the best one? Because you're getting the best cells. Our cells are better than the competition's. When you look at how we manufacture our cells compared to the type of cell that the Powerwall uses, you'll see after 500 cycles, which one has less distortion. That just tells you which one is going to last longer. And as you can see right there, it's pretty crystal clear which one. On top of that, we are subject matter experts. Again, we're the chemical side of LG here at LG Chem. Make no mistake, lithium ion is an electrochemical, and that's why you want the battery to come from a company with a chemical background. I talked about it earlier. You're probably using our appliances, you're probably using our technology already, and you would never know it. And have you had any safety issues? No. And right here again, as you can see, Tesla sales push EV battery supplier LG Chem to number one. And that's because we are supplying all of their Model 3s in China with our EV cells. And then the last reason from a product perspective is just it's a more efficient battery than a Tesla Powerwall or probably any other battery out there on the market. But really, let's look at this compared to a Powerwall. It's more efficient because it's a DC coupled solution. It's okay if you don't understand what that means. But simply put, it's a more efficient battery because less electricity is lost when we charge this battery. This will matter when you start to add multiple batteries and explore those whole home backup solutions. Let's kind of touch on AC and DC coupling really quickly here. So let's look at an AC coupled solution. This would be something like a Tesla Powerwall or an N-phase ensemble system or their N-charge that they offer. AC coupled batteries are less efficient than DC coupled batteries because of the number of conversion cycles they must go through. So if you look right here, we have our solar. Let's look at the path this energy must go to before it gets to the battery. We have one conversion cycle here, then we have another conversion cycle here. Every time we are changing DC to AC and vice versa, we're losing a little bit of electricity, anywhere from 3 to 5%. So the more times you see these conversion cycles, the less efficient our battery will operate. And then to discharge the battery, there's a whole nother cycle. So to charge and discharge my AC coupled battery, I'm looking at 3 conversion cycles. Let's look at a DC coupled solution. DC coupled batteries are more efficient again because there's less losses. And that's because right here, the solar directly charges the battery, DC, DC. There's something in here called a DC to DC converter. It just boosts the voltage for you, but there's no conversion needed. The only time we see a conversion cycle with a DC coupled solution is when we're discharging. So do you want 3 conversion cycles and losing anywhere from, I don't know, 10% of your electricity, or just 1 conversion cycle where you're probably going to be looking more at like that 2 to 3% just to charge? Much more efficiency, more energy storage, longer duration of discharge.
Okay, time check. So let's go ahead. It's a 12:40. Let's make sure I've answered all the questions in the chat, so there are no new questions. But if you want to touch on how to gain access again to the Risu Academy for them, that would be great.
Perfect. And actually, I was just about to wrap up, so this is good timing. Yes. So I said there's a special prize. So want to earn $50 and become a Resu professional? Well, enroll today and you can gain access to the Resu Pro site. I'm going to be sending Rachel some instructions on for you guys specifically on what you can do. But again, it's really simple. Just enroll. It's free. And you guys don't even need to watch the first 4 lessons. I covered basically everything there. So you should be able to pass those exams with no problem. The moment you pass, just shoot me an email. I'll send you your certificate as well as the Resu Pro site. And then you'll be getting that Amazon gift card probably within the next few weeks or so. But yeah, thank you guys. I do see quite a few chats here. Do you want to just read them off to me, Rachel?
No, I think we are good. Some of them were just like, what does time of use again mean? Does our extended warranty solar insurer cover batteries not at this time? Um, Everything looks pretty standard. Oh, Tom has a new one that I didn't see. We have the 7600 Energy Hub in Solo as an adder. I've had plan sets come back with a lower rated Energy Hub 6000, for example, in actual designs. Is there a downside to using Energy Hub with lower rating than the 7600 with a 9.8? Um, I would double check that, Tom, on your thing, just with the operations. Just just point that out to them, just make sure, because there should only be the Energy Hub 7600. Um, I don't believe, Mark, do they have Energy Hub in other sizes right now?
They
That's a
do.
solar.
No, they do, but there is a downside to using one. So I can actually address this if you'd
Sure.
like me to.
Go ahead.
So I touched on it earlier. You know, a battery and inverter, they do matter how they work together. How these Energy Hub inverters work, which I cover them pretty extensively in the academy and some of the advanced lessons, but just to simplify it, Tom, what you need to do to understand how much energy or how much power those inverters can deliver is you need to take the rating. So 7,600, and you need to take that and multiply it by 0.8, 80%. And that's going to tell you how much power that inverter can handle. So the 6,000 inverter delivers less than 5,000 watts in backup mode. So there is a downside if you pair that with the 10H, because that 10H can deliver 5, but the 6,000 inverter can't handle 5. So you're not going to get the same kind of performance you would see if you paired it with the 7,600 inverter. Rachel, you probably want to check with that. I want to make it clear that if your consultants are selling Resu with Energy Hub, it should always be the 7,600 inverter.
Yeah, that's all we show on the equipment. So he needs to go and check with your operations and just point that out to them, make sure they understand what's up. And if they have any questions, they can go to Mark, but he's going
Yeah.
to be gone next week. He's going to Yosemite. So,
Yes.
um, Wes, I'll send you the Risu Academy info here in a second. Um, so you can have that link. And because I see your thing. So I'll send that to you shortly. And yeah, pretty much. Ops needs to stop screwing around with those designs. All right, Mark, thank you again for joining. We will that's a really detailed question, Paul. He has a new one. Sold a 17 kilowatt with two 7600 inverters. How much energy does this get him when the grid is down? Did you do two batteries, three batteries, one battery? It's one battery. It's likely going to give him enough energy to power his essential loads. As Mark mentioned, you're going to want to make sure that your customers are expectations are set correctly. This is not necessarily a whole home backup for, especially if they have super high usage like that. You're just going to want to make sure that they tell the engineer how to set it up for the essential loads that they want to cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel, I'm seeing a lot of questions for the link to the exam. I'm going to send you
Yeah.
something separately. I prepared a special different way that these people who showed up today can do it. I'll send you that. Don't send them the normal way that you have been historically. I'll send you.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot. Okay.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's actually more to help speed it up for them. But the old way
Okay.
is totally fine. But if they don't want to rewatch all the videos, they can just go right to the exams, and I'll send you that information in a separate email. Okay.
Gotcha. But the videos will be there, right? For them
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
refresher. Okay, great.
absolutely. Definitely want to rewatch them, but I know some people in here might just want to go right to those exams. So I did want to make that accessible since, you guys were kind enough to join me today, and I basically covered the entire first 4 lessons anyway.
Got it. Thank you. I'm just writing a couple of these down. And okay. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to take over the screen again real quick because I do have a couple of quick updates for them. Mark, I'll touch base with you either later this week or when you get back from your vacation. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today, guys. Rachel, I'll shoot you that email separately. And yeah, everyone have a great day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
For everybody that's popping in your email into the chat window, I'm not going to gather all of this right now. So I'm going to put something in the chat window for you. Just shoot me an email with the subject line, Resu Academy, and I'll make sure to send it to you as soon as I get it from Mark. The link that he has to register. Subject Resu Academy. Put that in the subject line, and as soon as Mark sends that, I'll send it over to you guys. Okay. So real quick, actually I have a lot of things, but I only have about 10 minutes. So this is going to be fast and I'm not going to have time for questions. If you have questions about what I cover, feel free to email me and put in that subject line, consultant training question, So we just did the LG Chem recap. Um, I'm giving you a heads up. Starting Monday is the ETA, which means that's our expectation and our plan. If something changes, we'll let you know on Monday, but that is when we're planning to launch North Carolina, South Carolina, and Nevada all as power territories. So you'll see the coverage map change, and we'll highlight those states in yellow. The coverage map for those that are new is located on power resources, and you can find that in the left-hand menu bar. So just know that we are planning to make that switch. It's going to be similar to what we did with Colorado, where if you have a current proposal with Titan as the installer and you'd like to get that switch to power, you're going to put in a revision request. Don't start doing that now. They will not be processed. We are not ready. So again, just a heads up, keep an eye on this on Monday. We will make announcements on, yeah, we'll make announcements on Power Pioneers as well. Yeah, yay for a Monday launch. Yeah, we fought for that. So real quick, I've seen a couple people reach out to me. They're likely new people to the platform, but just a reminder, if you see a project fall off of your list in your dashboard, make sure you're opening up the stages and changing the stage from opened to either installed or closed, because it likely had just changed on a stage, and that's where the project is listed now. So I'm not even gonna show a recap of that since I don't have time. And then next week on consultant training, we have a guest speaker, Joshua Heidelbaugh. He's our one of the new operations managers, and he's working with Victoria on the Texas market specifically. He's going to be coming on and doing a training regarding some of our bigger Texas utilities where there's a lot more paperwork and issues and things like that. He wants to make sure everybody has a good understanding of what's going on in CoServe, El Paso Electric, Austin Energy, CPS. If you're from Texas, mark your calendar. Please make sure to attend next Wednesday, the 25th training. We will be closed on Thanksgiving. Sales support is scheduled for the day after Thanksgiving. If Solo comes back and says that they're closed that day, then we'll be closed. But for right now, we are only closed next week on Thanksgiving Day. If you see Solaria, if you're in Titan, Colorado, and you see Solaria or anywhere, if you ever see a Solaria equipment on any of your proposals and it's not a signed proposal already, just don't choose it, please. They're supposed to get those removed. There's absolutely no Solaria panels to be had, and we're getting them removed from our equipment list. And they shouldn't even show on any power projects anyways, but we have seen them on Titan, Colorado. So just a quick recap again, stages, search by stage in my projects. If you see something fall off, make sure you're going to your project, and then on the left-hand rail, you should be able to search by stage. Make sure you're doing that if you find something missing. And then Jeffrey has a question. I think generally I have not received any emails from a Titan bot. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but if you want to send a screenshot, I can send it to support and have them look into it, Jeffrey. I'm assuming that's what your hand was raised for. Um, Tom Cotter asked, does it make sense for you to ping ops to make sure that they are always? I have never heard them change it to a 6,000 energy hub. I don't know if that was something on the installer side, so I've never seen that, Tom. I would definitely reach out to them on that specific project. Again, we only have the 7600 energy hub listed in our equipment list. So why that might have changed, or it could be that they have a 7600 energy hub, and if it's a large enough system, they might also need a second inverter, and it doesn't have to be an energy hub. So just double check with your operations team on that. Okay. All right, you guys, I've got to jump, but I want to go over these next few slides so they capture on the recording for you. this is a good reminder from one of our top mentors. This was on one of our Mentor Mondays, just to, again, always put the name of the utility bill holder instead of just saying it's the homeowner. If it's not the homeowner, then choose the utility bill holder's name that it is, that person's name that's on the agreement or on the utility bill when you're requesting docs. This again is for sales pros and mentors that have the access to right now to be able to request docs and so forth. And again, always use a different email for your customers if there's different signers whenever you can, because it'll make the doc signing process a lot smoother and easier, and things don't get built into the same DocuSign thread. I'm skipping that Q&A. Reminders from last week's training for those that weren't on it. We have a compliance, and all the sales policies have been updated on Power Resources. It is under resources, compliance. You can download all of that information as well as some homeowner brochures and so forth. No, Roberto. Roberto's asking me whether you have batteries or not. The 7600 inverter is exactly the same. No, there are different 7600s listed. There's one that's just a regular 7600H in the equipment, and then there's the 7600 Energy Hub inverter. So you should see that in your equipment list. Reminder here, your operations is now scheduled into teams as opposed to individuals, or moving forward. That's the way it is. They're making a massive shift starting the beginning of next week on their communication process. They are vamping up their ability to take your phone calls when needed, or have the single ops email or whatever. So again, that's all in there right now. Cool. And don't forget to download and get the documentation, like what you need to make sure is all complete in order for your contract to get processed appropriately. So always get that utility bill. There's only one exception when we'll let it process without a utility bill, and that's if the homeowner is brand new and they don't have that first bill yet. However, you will need to get it before they'll let it go to any permit stage. So that should give you plenty of time, though, because even if they're a brand new homeowner, they should have that bill within a few weeks of moving into their home. So again, double check that. It's all on Power Resources, you guys. So have a great day. I am I am done with today's presentation, and I have a meeting here in just a few minutes. So if you have any questions, like I said, just shoot me an email, presales@power.com. Put in the subject line that it's consultant training question, something we covered that you want more clarification on. And if it's for the RISU Academy, just put RISU Academy, and I'll have all of those compiled so I can search them. And as soon as Mark sends me that link for you guys to use, that since you were on today's training, I will send that over for you guys. All right. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.